Welcome to this video on crucifixion implants. I'm going to cover what these crucifixion suffering satanic implants are, how they are embedded in our individual bodies, and how they are embedded in the planetary body, which causes mass suffering. It codes humanity to continually suffer and recycle. Well, you've got to ask yourself, and you see it around you, why people support systems that inflict mass suffering and individual suffering. There are people that defend them and they support the systems, they'll support individuals. And I'm going to explain a little bit more on how this is manufactured, how this is created. And it's along the lines of as above, so below, which is as within, so without. So there is a consciousness, and I'm going to go further into the details of that. When I was a kid, I suffered immensely emotional, sexual, physical abuse, and I really didn't want to live. I actually questioned why someone would want to live in this life when there was so much suffering. It was so intense for me. So it kind of plagued my life, and then it led me to this journey to trying to uncover my own suffering, which then led to the research on humanity's suffering, and then of course the creation of the forensic healing system. And this is the laws I use. It's a law of energy exchange, a law of attraction, as opposed to using traditions and belief systems. So humanity becomes free when people awaken to the knowledge that all these institutions and organizations are infiltrated by evil, because if they don't, they are supporting that evil, and then that evil is imprisoning us. And for that to change, consciousness must change, because if you just take out all the evil structures and you take out these evil organizations without awakening or shifting the consciousness, it just grows back again. It just will, another evil structure will replace it. It's sort of like when you're in a bad relationship, you just leave that relationship, you go to the next relationship, and it's still the same relationship, just in a different form. So you have to change, we have to change for this awakening process for humanity to heal, and pain forces us to change. So my motto is, I don't want to be in pain to change. I'll just change voluntarily. So I'm going to delve into the topic of religion, because that is a mass organization on our planet. It's 1/3 of the population read the scriptures. So it creates a consciousness, and a lot of them worship the crucified Christ. Well, I was born and bred a Catholic, and then I served 18 years in the Mormon church. Now, I had some great experiences and then some not so good experiences in both religions. So it gives me a good foundation for this topic. But I'm not against religion. I'm not against anything for that matter. I'm just pro-humanity, and I just apply the laws of science, the laws of attraction, instead of using belief systems and tradition to argue a point. I mean, I'm going to go along with what I said before. As above, so below. As within, so without. We've got to go to the energy consciousness first. So, and this information won't relate to every person, but take what you want and leave the rest. But religion has a connection to a lot of people struggling, especially Europeans, because Europe is steeped in religion. My family is actually, half of them are European, and my grandmother was called the Saint, and that's because she was married to an abusive husband, and she just tolerated that, and that was imparted onto the women in her family as well, to be saintly and to suffer and to endure. So in some religions, they use the sign of the cross. The sign of the cross is a remembrance of Jesus Christ on the cross, suffering and being tortured. And so every time you do a religious ritual like that, you activate these crucifixion implants in your body and bring them out and activate the suffering in yourself. It's a bit similar to sort of voodoo, like when you have a doll or a figurine, then that represents a person, and whatever you do to that doll or figurine will impart on that person. And if we're all one with Christ, we're actually imparting that suffering on us. I mean, voodoo should never be underestimated. I mean, the more ritual you do in anything, the more powerful and potent the spell or the curse occurs. And I remember meeting a girl once many years ago, and she as a child, she said she remembered walking into her grandfather's house, and he had lined up on the kitchen table dolls of each of herself and her brothers and sisters, and then her parents. And so the grandfather was doing stuff on the dolls, and she was really perturbed. When I was doing a healing on her, she would flip personalities and she'd flip accents, and she would get angry, and it was really bizarre working on her. So don't underestimate the power of having a figurine of a person. And that's what, when you go to church, that figurine sits up there. It's reminding us of the suffering. And when you have communion in some churches, they say it's you're partaking of the body and blood of Christ. So the body and blood of Christ, you are ingesting in your being, suffering. And then is that like not subtly condoning cannibalism? And like that's got to be questioned when we eat of someone's body and blood. So just summarizing, really what we're doing is when you are worshipping a crucified, tortured Christ, and that you are to be like him, you are making an agreement that you will be like that person. And so that creates a contract for you to also suffer, because that's what Christ is. So we've got to start awakening to what parts work in religion and what part is actually causing us mass suffering. To maximize a spell, curse, or ritual, you can use things like incantations, role plays, activate fear, use words of power, you stimulate the senses, you can use symbols, hand signals, finger modes to open portals, and that will bring in a more powerful energy to activate whatever it is that your intention is. And the most vulnerable are children. This energy and these intentions and programs just go straight in to a child's energy field, and then it's held in them. I mean, I remember working with a woman, and her little 2-year-old, I think he was 2, was watching The Wizard of Oz. And from that time onwards, after watching The Wizard of Oz, he said that he liked the dark, and then he stopped eating all the good foods and he went strange. And that was straight after watching Wizard of Oz. And when we removed that curse placed on from watching that movie, he flipped and went back to don't know why I want to eat good food. It was quite amazing. So we've really got to wake up to these traditions, and like Halloween, which is a horror story, and what we're activating. So churches, when you go to church, they activate these the rituals that they're relaying to the congregation. They do it through stained glass windows, music and singing, and they also use myrrh, which creates kind of hypnotic and a transcendent state. So especially if you doing rote responses and memorization of words, and in the form of also role plays like a confirmation, when you take on a saint's name, that means that you've just coded yourself to be a saint. Again, more martyrdom for your life. So this makes it quite challenging, because these rituals and spells and curses that get put on our bodies and our souls, we reincarnate with them until we actually shift our consciousness. It's like those spells and curses will match a certain consciousness, and then when we shift that consciousness, they can naturally be released, but they're so thick and so coded, and that they really have a hold over us. And the more religious we are, the more we can activate, these crucifixion implants and this kind of suffering life that we live. And if you may wonder why you just don't never ever get ahead, or why you just feel like there's this glass ceiling, well, this can be the reason. Now, for these rituals and this dark stuff that is put on us, you might say, well, how easy is it to take off? And I'll always say this, well, it depends on the amount of power that they use to put on you and the amount of power that is used to take it off, but also what is your level of consciousness? Have you worked on yourself? Because if you have these implants and crucifixion implants and suffering implants in your body, and you are negative, then they just like stick. No matter what you do, it doesn't come off until you start shifting and detoxing your body. So if you go to a Catholic church mass, they'll use that sign of the cross 51 times in the ceremony, and people will use it throughout their day to, ask when they pray, or pray over their food, or when they're asking for help. And that will be just done as a ritual without thinking about it. And people also have the sign of the cross, in picture form. They'll have it in a figurine. So there's ways to encode yourself. Every time you visualize and you see that codes your reality. It's law of attraction. So when a baby's baptized, the priest will put a cross over the baby's forehead and over the baby's heart. So the most important part of any person is their intuition, which is the third eye, and the priest is sealing that off and crossing that off. And then the heart, which is feeling and where all the emotions, it's like closing down this very important energy areas of a child's body. And we've got to question, what are they doing when they do that, crossing over with a sign of suffering and torture? So you may have heard about these crucifixion implants called J seals or Jehovah's seals, also death seals, and they include the crown of thorn implant. So the crown of thorns is the crown that Jesus was crucified with. And these are placed in the Earth's magnetosphere, which is also called the Planetary Logos, which is the area controlled by the planet's magnetic field, which has 12 axial vertical energy lines, just like our bodies have. So this Planetary Logos was hijacked many years ago by the reptilian controllers, and they corrupted humanity's original blueprint. So they put a glitch in this blueprint, and they used biowarfare to create mind control. So you wonder why people just agree to follow them and not question the narrative. So this is how they do it, and they siphon our energy and they inflict mass suffering. So siphoning of energy, I've definitely experienced. It's like being so profound, and reversing that has just been incredible. It's like I've got my full life force back and my full power back. So the technology they used causes souls to recycle, past life memory loss, emotional suppression from trauma and pain. So basically they're disconnecting us. So it disconnects you from your soul matrix, which is your divine blueprint. So we haven't been able to live our full destiny in our blueprint. And that brings you back to and reunites, that journey reunites you with the eternal God source, or your creator. So we're trying to get back there, and this blocks it. So this is immense pain that has been inflicted upon humanity. Spiritual and soul pain is incredibly intense, and hence why humanity is suffering. Again, as above, so below. So when we clean this all up and we extract these implants and everything else that they do, we get back our power. And it's like the Incredible Hulk in a way. It's like we bust through what they've done to us. The Planetary Logos, which I referred to, it operates as a planetary brain, which serves as the collective mind, like the consciousness. And this projects or transmits to the individual mind, and it relays messages to Earth and to us. So this instruction set for the Planetary Logos comes from the 7D violet ray that contains the future Earth timeline called Gaia. So the 12-dimensional violet frequency wave, it's transmitted through Gaia into our crown chakra and the 7th dimensional energy centers in our energetic field. So the crown chakra connects to the aurora, which is rays of light and consciousness units of the next universe with enlightened beings and also unity intelligence. So the Earth consciousness timelines simultaneously evolve. So all at the same time, there is 3-dimensional Earth, which is called Terra, and there's 5th-dimensional Earth, which is called Tara, and you've got 7th-dimensional Earth called Gaia, all simultaneous timelines operating at once. And we've got to get to the Gaia timeline. So what are the crucifixion implants? They are tangible control structures. They're placed in our 7th-dimensional logos. That connects us to this circuitry system that forms the collective human crown chakra. So therefore, these implants are in our light body, in our crown chakra, and our complex meridians, and the entire left side of our body. So when the 7th seal, which is a quarantine that they've put on us, is opened, the crucifixion implants can be removed. This seal causes a recorded genetic dimensional frequency block in our planetary body's holographic architecture, which affects every living being on this planet. So the crucifixion implants are located in 7 main areas on the left side, and I'll go through them where they're located. And they're at the top of the skull on the left side, then they're in the heart, the left lung, and the back of the knee. They're in the pineal gland, the left side of the neck and lymphatics, the rear left thigh and buttocks, the altar major, which is where the skull rests atop the spine, the hypothalamus and the left shoulder, and the aorta artery, which is the left side of the neck. Giving a direct quote from Lisa Renee, who is the founder of Energetic Synthesis, she says, "One of the largest lies promoted to divide our race is the war over false gods. The false archetypal story of a crucified Christ figure is a mockery to further enslave humans into believing in a salvation model through a crucified Christ. It represents the tortured human being, as we are all the Christ, and we have been crucified and implanted as our planet was invaded. The wounds of Christ are karmic blood miasms coded in the planetary body and the collective human body. These implants have been holographic inserted into the planetary brain and the magnosphere. These holographic inserts misdirect and steal the planetary life force, energy, and body parts belonging to our spirit." So now I'm going to talk about the crown of thorn implants, which is as I mentioned, the crown of thorns that was placed over Christ's head when he was crucified. Well, these are placed in the planetary body, which encodes humanity with an artificial blueprint. It causes every person to incarnate with these implants, overriding our Aurora crown that connects us to the Aurora. The crown of thorn implants suppress the pineal gland with a pineal cage. So it's like this crown of thorn is suppressing our intuition, it's suppressing the pineal gland and us knowing things. So it might explain why people can't see things, like they're blinded by controllers and, people that are causing harm on humanity. Well, this energetic cage blocks the connection to the Aurora and scrambles spiritual communication from higher dimensions. So it also might explain why some people say they get these messages that don't make sense. That's because this connection is scrambled. When the pineal cage and the crucifixion implants are removed, the 10th axonal lines and the solar star chakra, which is Christ consciousness intelligence, can correct the crown pattern. So it merges with the avatar matrix, which is Christ consciousness, and the crystal star, which is unity consciousness. So we're going to have to go through this awakening process where we question everything, and we need to look at ourselves and see how we've been manipulated and how we've been coded, and be open enough to say, I will look at something, because when you're coded in childhood, it has become you, and you will never question it, and you will defend it. And when you get to that point where you'll say, I'm open, and I will look at what I've been taught, and I will just use the science and use the laws of energy exchange, and look at your parents and you look at how you are so similar to them, because that's just a natural process. You watch what your parents do and you watch what they believe, and that can become you. And then sometimes it can also make you go so far in an opposite direction, it can misdirect you. So when you question all this and you question how you've been trained to and programmed to suffer instead of programmed to live joyously, live in love, live in abundance, live in beauty, live in humanity, where we don't harm animals, people, and the planet. And you can use that as your benchmark. You can say, does this promote humanity? Then that can be how you can use the equation. So when we start doing that, we'll start unraveling and decoding ourselves and deprogramming ourselves, and remove the filters that we have, that we're being taught. So there's a video that will be the healing process that's going to help you extract these implants, and that has been coded from the day you're born and been coded in the Planetary Logos, going to help you remove that, so you can get your full breath of life back, get your connection to Source and to Gaia, the seventh-dimensional Earth. It's amazing. So I hope you enjoy it, and I bless you and wish you well, and I look forward to connecting with you again soon. So take care.